Hi, I'm Tanuja Ramchal, career coach at the Graduate Career Management Center, and welcome to this presentation on writing a resume that stands out. I know as a graduate student, your career is important to you, and this is why it's important that you market yourself well to potential employers. And a way to do that is using your resume. And today we're going to be talking about the purpose of a resume and what you need to know before you even start writing your resume. I'll also be sharing what you should be excluding for your resume to make it even stronger, and also what to put above the fold in the upper half of the resume so a hiring manager or a recruiter can quickly identify you as a strong candidate. I'll also be showing you examples of strong bullets and examples of resumes that were effective and got students the jobs that they wanted, and also the process of getting approved by the GCMC. And then we'll be recapping with all of the key points so that you can walk away feeling confident about the resume that you're putting together. So let's get started. In terms of the purpose of a resume, really it's to get you the interview. A resume is meant to be your marketing material that's attractive to hiring managers. And this is why you want to make sure you're filtering based on what is it that's meaningful to them, and anything that's not meaningful to them needs to get off the resume. So you want to put yourself in the hiring manager's shoes and imagine them quickly glancing at the resume in a few seconds. What is it that will grab his or her attention right away? And this is really all about marketing yourself. So you have to understand who is it that you're targeting, right? So imagine you're selling, say, aloe plants, right? And some people are looking to buy aloe plants for medicinal purposes, and some people are looking to buy aloe plants for decorative purposes. Well, those are two very separate audiences. And when you're selling to the people who are looking to use it for medicinal purposes, you're going to tell them about the health benefits and how good it is for their well-being. Whereas for the people who are looking to use an aloe plant to decorate their home, you're going to tell them how beautiful it's going to look. So that's what the way you want to start thinking about your resume in terms of who is your audience and what is the need that they have, because you are going to have to frame your message in that context. Even though it's the same product you're selling, you're going to be selling it very differently based on employers and hiring managers and recruiters you're targeting. And that needs to be really clear, because if you're not doing this, your resume is just going to be a generic document that's not really appealing to anybody, and you're going to be sending it out and not hearing back, and that could be very, very frustrating. So a resume is not a summary of your professional experience, education, and skills, as many people believe, right? Where they're putting together a resume and they're just summarizing everything they've done in the past. Don't do that. It's actually a targeted sales sheet. You can think of it as your advertisement, which highlights why you write for a specific role, the role that you're going for, based on what's important to that audience. So you're effectively demonstrating how you can meet their needs. And the questions that you should be asking yourself and factors that you should be considering: one, who is my audience? What is the problem that I'm looking to solve for them? Am I looking to come in as a data analyst? Am I looking to come in as an auditor? And what are the needs that they have that I can actually help them with? And your resume has to be presented in the context of your audience for it to be effective. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to identify you as a strong candidate, even though you may have the experience and even though you may have the skills, if you're not showcasing that and highlighting that on your resume. So before you even start writing a resume, you want to start by acknowledging where you are currently, right? And sometimes, when students are coming in, they get very ambitious and they're looking, say, for example, you're an accounting student, you don't have any experience and you want to get into Big Four. This is where you want to take a step back and asking yourself, right now, based on where you are you qualified for the roles you're targeting? And if you're not, recognizing that that's okay, but it takes a process to get there. And if you're going for roles that you're not yet qualified for and you don't have the experience and you don't have the skills, that's when you're going to be sending out resume after resume and not hearing back. So what you want to recognize is that there's a gap there, and in order to get ultimately to where you want to go, you have to fill that gap. And it means adjusting your target based on where you are and the direction you want to go. And it may mean taking another internship in the interim that allows you to develop the skills and the experience that's required for that role that you want to get to. And this is where you slow down if you need to, where you take the time to develop the skills and the experience and get some leadership skills in as well, or whatever it is that you need for the roles that you want. And really, you have to start filtering based on what's important to your audience, even in terms of the skills that you're developing. Are these the skills that that are relevant? Are these the skills that are going to allow them to see that I'm qualified? And making sure you eliminate anything that's irrelevant, because this becomes noise. And this is why research is so important. So you want to be familiar with their language and review job descriptions and understand the profile and qualities of the candidates that hiring managers and recruiters are looking for those roles that you are targeting. Using that language in your resume so hiring managers can quickly self-identify when they're looking at the resume. And, like an example, if you're going for internships in audit, like using verbs like analyze and investigate and research, and words, terms like due diligence and work papers and audit report and testing and sampling, because those are audit terms. If you haven't done that, it's okay. But as much as possible, where you've done this in the past, even if it's not in an audit context, where you've analyzed information or where you've investigated discrepancies, using those terms, because that is going to call out to a hiring manager that's looking at the resume. And you want to keep this in mind, remembering your audience and remembering their needs. So don't start off by writing your resume right off the bat, right? You want to take a blank piece of paper and you want to start by brainstorming. What would a hiring manager for the role you're targeting want in a candidate? So put yourself in that person's shoes. What do you have to offer right now that's valuable in this specific role? So list everything, from your education, from the classes you've taken, the projects you've done, and even the internships you've held in the past. And also, things that you've done outside of your professional and academic, world. What are, maybe sports team that you've been part of, and where have you held leadership, roles in organizations and everything. And then choose carefully, what is it that you want to highlight and what would make you stand out when somebody's looking at the resume. This is also an opportunity for you to do a reality check in terms of where you need to develop that, because that's also part of the process, right? Maybe you are not qualified right now for the role that that your ideal role, but realizing that would take really putting a plan in place in terms of developing your skills and your experience. So for many students, they don't have a targeted resume right at the start of the program, and recognizing that's okay. If you're just starting out in your career and your resume doesn't look appealing to hiring managers based on the roles you want, this is your chance to use your master's program, use your first semester to really start building that resume and to developing the skills and the qualities. For example, using relevant courses, using class projects, leadership positions in clubs to make your resume stand out, and realizing that it's a work in progress. And this is why you don't want to compare yourself to other people, because realizing other people as well are starting from a very different place as you, and they may have relevant experience already, and that's okay, because this is where you get to develop those skills. Also, you want to start to consider what you need to exclude from the resume, right? So sometimes I see for international students, they come in with a photo on their resume. That's not something that that is done in the US. You also don't include family information or your date of birth or whether you're married or single. You don't put salary for the jobs you've held or even the salary that you want. And certainly anything that's not true doesn't go on the resume. You don't embellish facts. And any irrelevant details comes off the resume because it's always in the context of your audience. It's always thinking about the people, the roles that you're targeting, and who is going to be reading this resume and what is it that's going to be relevant for them. You also want to think above the fold in the upper half of the resume. What is it that you need to put there? Because this is prime real estate space on your resume, where somebody who's looking at your resume for the first time, this is where their eyes are going to land. And if you don't have experience, that's going to really pop or going to make them say, this is somebody I want to talk to. What you can start doing as a student is drawing on relevant courses, or if you're going into the IT field or data analytics field, drawing on your technical skills and also academic projects and relevant internships, as a student. So take advantage of being a student and using this to start showcasing, all of what you're bringing to the table to potential employers. So let's look at an example of how a student has used skills to do this. So here's a student who's getting an MS in Information Systems, going on the data analytics track, and it's his first semester. So GPA first semester, and we recommend that you put that if you don't yet have a GPA, because if you don't have a GPA and you're not putting it on the resume, people are going to assume that your GPA is too low. That's why you're not including it. So for your first semester, until you have a GPA, just put first semester. And then in your coursework, picking the relevant, and that's the key word, relevant courses based on the field you're going into. So MIS strategy, business analytics, Python for analytics, data warehousing, visualization, and mining. These are all classes that are, it's like when somebody's looking at this resume, this is what the skills they're looking for. And also the leadership experience. This person brings that right up to the top of the resume to say he's the secretary of the data analytics club, also makes him stand out. And then working 30 hours a week while going to school full-time. And this shows time management skills, often a skill that a lot of employers are looking for. And when it comes to the New York University section, he also includes relevant coursework. Not every single class that he's taking, but the ones that are relevant based on the field that he's going into. Includes his leadership experience there as well, and also talks about study abroad, which shows that he has adaptability skills. And then you see in the skills section, which he brings right up to the top of the resume, putting all of those technical skills. And somebody looking at this resume, looking at the top half of this resume, has no doubt that the student is looking for something in analytics or in a technical role, right? So this is what you want to do for your resume when you're looking at it through the eyes of a hiring manager. Do they clearly know what is it that I'm going for, and do they find me to be a strong candidate based on what they're seeing? And here's another example. So the education section is the same. And here a student is using relevant academic projects, right? So again, going for analytics and IT roles. So the project titles, very important. You want to say data analysis or business analysis or SDLC, because those are relevant terms. Don't use, a heading or a title like CIS 9500, because your audience doesn't know what CIS 9500 is, even though you know what it is. Or to say Pepsi project, because your audience doesn't identify with, they're not looking to hire somebody who knows Pepsi very well. They're looking to hire somebody who knows analytics. They're looking to hire somebody who knows SDLC. So your titles have to be very relevant to them. If it's not relevant, remove that from the resume. And also looking at the descriptions he has for the academic projects, designed and conducted a 150 subject study on visual recognition. See that he's putting metrics in there, 150 subject study. Also look at how he's putting, keywords and putting tools in there, like imported data from Excel and R and analyzed p-values via significance testing, ANOVA test, regression, and post hoc analyses. All very relevant, and somebody looking at this knows that the student understands the subject, and this is what you want to do. And again, if you're not there yet, it's okay, but this is where you're using your graduate studies to really develop your resume, and where it's going to get stronger and stronger as you go along. So don't stress if you're not there yet in your first semester. So let's talk about writing your bullets for the experiences that you have. So some examples of weak bullets are bullets that are very generic and they don't convey much to your audience, right? Where they can't paint a picture. So for example, prepared income tax returns for clients doesn't say much. Did you just push a button in a software and, on the other side came a tax return? So what was that process? What is it? What skills did you draw on? What were the quantities of income tax returns that you prepared? Or produce reports for management? Like, what does that mean? Again, did you just push a button and it spits out a report, you just sent an email? When you look at the bottom, you see examples of strong bullets. So prepared 400 plus federal and state tax returns using TaxWise Online and reviewed completed returns with individual and business clients for accuracy of information. So when you read a bullet like this, you can now put yourself in that context and you can see exactly what that student did, that candidate did, and paint that picture. So they prepared 400 plus federal and state tax returns. I can see the metric 400 plus. Now I can quantify it. Oh, wow, that's actually quite a lot of tax returns. Also, I can see that's a federal and state tax return. I can see that they're using TaxWise Online. They understand tools, right? And that they completed returns with clients. So it's showing the client interface. And also they're reviewing for accuracy of information, which is something that's very important in tax. So this is the way that you want to think about your bullets. What is it conveying to your audience? And every single bullet should be meaningful to them. And if it's not meaningful, don't put it, right? And being able to frame your experiences in their context. Also look at the second bullet here in the strong bullet section. Produce monthly Excel-based reports for management to track usage and trends in services offered to 4,000 customers and to support quarterly strategic program planning. Now I can see that this is being done on a monthly basis. It's being used to track usage and trends to 4,000 customers. So the metrics again, and what it's used for is to support quarterly strategic program planning, right? And that's something that's very important at a managerial level. So you're doing something, again, if this is what your audience is looking for, putting it in this context. You also want to prioritize bullets from most relevant to least relevant for each of your professional experience, where the first bullet should be the most important bullet to your audience, and then, moving your way down. If something is not relevant, remove it from your resume. It's about quality over quantity. It's not about having 10 bullets. It's if you have 2 strong bullets and that is what's going to be appealing to hiring managers, that's enough, right? So don't worry about making sure that, putting lots of bullets. It's about what is going to make you stand out, and that's what you want to include in the resume. So let's look at an example of a before and after resume. So here's a student who is coming into Baruch, his very first semester. He's coming from Binghamton University, has a BA in psychology. And if you look at his professional experience, you see he's worked in operations, he's worked in human resources, he's also worked in research and in sales. So if you look at this resume, can you clearly tell what the student wants to do? For me, it's very difficult to tell. And also the resume seems to be very cramped. There's not a lot of space in terms of reading this resume. So if somebody quickly glances at this resume, for me, it doesn't convey, what this candidate is really going for. And you can, even though it looks like a standard resume format and all of that. So this student is actually going for data analytics roles and IT roles. And here's how the resume looked after he's updated it. So you see in the education section now, he has his MS in Information Systems at Baruch and puts GPA first semester because it's his first semester. And concentration in data analytics with coursework in IT strategy, systems analysis and design, business analytics, right? Very, very clear that it's data analytics and IT focus. He also includes his leadership experience in a club that he's a part of. And then in Binghamton, he includes his relevant coursework, that that shows that he is qualified for jobs in the field that he's going for. And relevant, again, is the key word. Show that he studied abroad, and also shows leadership skills that he's had in undergrad. But then you see he brings up the skills section to the top, and also includes all his technical skills and also languages that he knows, and then relevant academic projects. But what you also see is that in his professional experience, it's not taking up the majority of the resume, like where it was dominant in the resume, but it's also framed in IT context, gathered user requirements from sales team and communicated to IT team, served as liaison between sales and IT, right? And it's more focused on the audience. So if somebody's looking at this resume, they can clearly identify this candidate as someone who's going for analytics and IT positions. He also talks about his leadership skills at the bottom, and includes more specific details based on what he knows about his audience, and talks about collaborate with IT webmaster to design, construct, and launch new website for organizations. So again, IT focused, right? And this is the way you want to start thinking of your resume. Also look at the spacing, that it's very easy to read. And this resume is actually based on our template, the GCMC template, which we recommend. Of course, you can tweak the different headings, and you can move things, like where he moves the skills section to the top, and he also includes the relevant academic projects section. So these are things you can change. Again, it's all about your audience and what's important to them, and that's how you're going to construct the resume. And he brings his professional experience below. But once a student starts gaining experience relevant to his field, he can actually move the experience section to the top, and then put the skills and relevant academic projects. So this is a work in progress, right? And as a result of changing this resume, this student got called for lots of different internships, had many different offers, and ended up like this resume is completely different now, transformed a year after that he worked on this. So knowing that in a very short period that you can transform your resume, and you can make it very relevant and very targeted to your audience. And if you're not there yet, there's nothing to worry about. That's the whole point of getting a master's degree. That's the whole point of being in school. It's your opportunity to really develop your skills and take advantage of being a student to make yourself a stronger candidate. So let's look at another example of a student who's getting an MS in taxation. And the student wants job working in public accounting. And right at the top, she talks about passing the BEC and Reg section of the CPA exam, because that's really important in public accounting. Also talks about her leadership experience in the Zicklin Graduate Accounting Society, because this is something public accounting firms look for. And talks about working 30 hours a week while going to school full-time, because again, this shows time management skills and the ability to manage multiple priorities. And then you see she separates her experience into accounting and tax experience, and really framing her bullets in the context of the roles that she's targeting, and looking at the verbs that she's using, ensuring you're using present tense for jobs that you currently have, past tense for everything that's in the past, and also talking about like specific specific things that she did as relevant: utilize advanced Excel functions to streamline filing process, eliminating redundancies and locating records, conducted tax research on tax issues and credits and deductions by utilizing IRS website to ensure best outcomes for clients based on their specific situation. So it really shows that she understands the world that she's getting into. Also, you see she puts her volunteer experience there in the accounting and tax experience, because it's relevant. So you can do that as well. And then she brings her other professional experience that's not so relevant to tax and accounting in another section called other professional experience. And there she also frames those experiences in the terms of her audience. So like organization skills, very important in audit and tax. Organized books based on catalog and answered customer questions, showing the client-facing skills that's relevant for where she wants to go. And then elaborates on the leadership skills as the VP of Alumni Relations in the Zicklin Graduate Accounting Society. So this is also a resume, where the student sent it out and got called for many different interviews, because she was presenting herself as a strong candidate for those roles. And you can see a lot of these were built while she was going to school. A lot of these experiences were built while she was going to school, and really allowed her to stand out. So in terms of writing a resume, right? And if you're going for vastly different types of jobs and your audience is different, so if you're going for a job in digital marketing or you're going for a job in IT audit, those are two different audiences, two different fields. So if it's so different, you want to write a resume for each category of job that you're applying for. But what I recommend is that you start with one category first. Write a good resume first, and that's when you can move on to the second category. Don't try to do this all at once, because it's going to, it's going to start to feel really overwhelming. So start with one category, and if you decide that you want to apply for a different category of job, then you have a separate resume. And it comes back to understanding your audience. Coming back to that example I explained earlier, if you're selling the same product to different audiences, you're going to message it very differently based on your audience, and that's what's key. It's not just talking about the product. It's about understanding how it meets the needs of your audience. And of course, this may sound like it's a lot of work and that you have to put in a lot of effort, but why this is important, it shows that you're vested in your career. It shows that you've done your research. It shows attention to detail and that this matters to you, because a strong targeted resume not only gets you the interview, by doing your research and understanding the field that you're getting into, and by understanding what's required, and by understanding how you fit into that, it actually allows you to prepare for the interview, and it makes you more confident because you know you're coming in to add value, that you have skills and you have experience you're bringing to the table, and this actually makes the interview process much more efficient. So slow down if you need to in the beginning, where you're taking the time to write your resume, taking the time to decide what skills you need to be developing, and being very intentional about this. You don't want to be sloppy, in this phase. You want to really identify what is it that you're going for, where is it that you need to develop, what is it that you're bringing to the table that you need to include, and being very strategic and very intentional about this part of the process. And at GCMC, we are here to help you with that. And this is why in CareerLink, we have templates for you. And if you go into the resources section, you can see the templates. Example one is if you're just starting out and you don't have a lot of experience, download example one. It's going to allow you to put your existing experience and skills and all of that there. And example two is more of a space saver resume. If you have, a little bit more experience and you've done a little bit more, it allows you to be more efficient with the space. And we also have a guide that goes more in depth, write the job winning resume. And this also has embedded in it a Google document that you can download as a spreadsheet to help you write really strong bullets. And this is where you can play around, and this is where you can, test different bullets and see what's most relevant. So go ahead and get these. But as I said before, you want to brainstorm first. You want to make sure that you're really understanding your audience, and having a blank sheet of paper and doing this before you even write your resume. Don't rush to just put things on paper. Again, being very intentional. And in terms of using CareerLink, our portal to apply for jobs, we require that you get your resume approved by the GCMC. And this means using the GCMC template, one of our templates, also keeping it to one page, and ensuring there's proper formatting, that you're looking at all the details, the font, the spacing, the consistency, reviewing the grammar and spelling, making sure that it's all properly formatted, and the spelling and the grammar are good. And also realizing that it may take a few iterations to get it approved and to get it right. That's not a problem. As I said, the main thing is that your resume is one that's appealing to hiring managers and to recruiters, not necessarily to just put things on paper and start sending it out. Because, you know, I've seen students who've done that in their first semester, and then, you know, when they're sending their resume out, they're not hearing back, and it's because they really didn't spend that time and be intentional about what is it that they were putting on it, and taking the time to do the research. So we highly recommend that you spend time on this process, and realizing that in your first semester, your resume may not necessarily be as strong as you want it to, but that's perfectly okay. You know, this is the advantage of being a student, and make sure you're using this opportunity to start building your skills and getting the experience that you need to have the job that you ultimately want. So let's review some of the key points that we've talked about. Your resume must be targeted to specific positions that you are looking to apply for. One size does not fit all. So you have to keep your audience in mind, because you're not just summarizing what you've done in the past. The content has to be relevant to your audience, and you want to make sure you're speaking their language. And this means you have to understand their language. So doing the necessary research to see what is it that they require. Also emphasizing the skills that they want, minimize or eliminate anything that's not relevant. And also, if you're applying to multiple positions that are vastly different, where the audience needs are different, you want to customize your resume. And also keep it to one page and have breathing room where there's good spacing, so that somebody looking visually, it's also appealing. Organizing your bullets in order of importance for each of the roles that you've held in the past, and paying attention to details in terms of format, spaces, dashes. When you look at the resume, it should be something that, you know, like somebody wants to actually read this, not where they're seeing mistakes, because this represents your brand, and this is the first impression somebody usually has of you. Also, you differentiate yourself by using metrics and quantifying, what you've done, and showcasing results, so somebody can see the impact that you can have in their organization. And looking for transferable skills from past experiences, always framing it in the context of your audience. And as a reminder, never ever lie on your resume. And remembering to be honest with yourself and start where you are. Wherever you are is okay. This is actually a work in progress. And as a student, you're developing your resume, and you're probably not going to be in the same place as other students. And that's perfectly fine, because that's the whole point of this experience that you're having in the graduate program. And we at GCMC, we are here to support you. So if you want to have your resume approved, you can come to one of the resume review sessions. They're posted in Career Link, so RSVP for that. And if you can't RSVP, just email us at zicklin.gcmc@baruch.cuny.edu and tell us that you want, which session you want to attend. And if it's not full, we're going to register you for that. Or if you want to meet with a career advisor, you can also email us at zicklin.gcmc@baruch.cuny.edu or call 646-312-1330. Thank you so much for participating in this class, and I look forward to seeing you soon.